Click here to subscribe our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon to get regular updates of our videos. Hello friends, good evening to all of you. So I am back with another video on Sociology optional subject for UPSC CSE means examination. In this video we are going to cover the evolution of modern industry in India under the industrialization and urbanization in India. So friend, please do this share as much as possible so that more and more people will get benefited. Comment and like the video, and now you can also follow us on MB page, that is facebook.com/Unorthodox Academy. So friend, as you know that we are covering slot 4, that is work, economic life, agriculture industry, and paper 1 we have already finished topic 6, that is work and economic life, and paper 2 we have already finished topic rural and agrarian transformation in India. And by this video we are going to start industrialization and urbanization in India by covering the evolution of modern industry in India. So friend, India has a very glorious past. India's handicrafts were prized in foreign countries. Village artisans produced products of high aesthetic quality with ease and efficiency. Pyrard, the 17th century Portuguese writer, has recorded that everyone from the Cape of Good Hope to China was clothed from head to foot in Indian-made garments. The iron column near Qutub Minar in Delhi is staying in the open. The column is over 1500 years old, and it seems that this column will continue to stand there till eternity. Even during Mughal period, some industries existed in India, but they were of a small scale or of handicraft. The real evolution of modern industry in India took place during colonial rule of British Empire. The industrialization in India can be divided into two phases. The first phase is during the British rule, and the second one post-independence India. So first we see during the British rule. So basically industrialization, as we know, is a term that is specifically employed to indicate the use of machines in the production process. It is also generally believed that the industrial revolution in England had propelled industrialization not only in England but elsewhere also. Being a British colony, gradually it arrived to India. Britishers introduced modern tools, techniques and machines to exploit Indian resources and not as a favor. So whenever there is a discussion on evolution of modern industry in India, the colonial state is brought to the center stage. It is held by the many that the empire heralded development in India. The apologists of the empire often cite example of British investment in India in infrastructure, etc., as laying the ground for further industrialization. The other arguments highlights the disastrous result of colonialism on the indigenous economies, completely taking it out of the competitive edge it had in textile industry. This argument was particularly favored by the nationalists, who at that time argued for increased control of governance by the natives. Dadabhai Naoroji's Reign of Wealth and R.C. Datta's work of economic history of India had become works that were part of the nationalist historiography. The nationalists argued that competition with cheap British mill cloth drove Indians out of the handloom industry and into agriculture. Even Marx considered that India was not stagnant till the British came and took over. He agrees with the exploitative nature of colonialism. So in the early phase of colonialism, there was very little capital investment in India. However, to aid trade to England, infrastructure like railways, telegraph posts, etc. were introduced. The capital investment which followed eventually was from English entrepreneurs and capitalists who wanted to be closer to raw material and cheap labor. They also enjoyed the patronage of the empire. Very few Indian entrepreneurs started manufacturing business as British policies did not favor them, and they were reluctant to enter into unknown fields. There were, however, several business communities who were initially the collaborators and middlemen with the British, like the Parsis and Marwaris, who ventured into setting up industries. The Marwaris of Calcutta moved from being traders to industrialists in the jute business. The transformations of a few Marwari families from traders to industrialists was gradual. So this pattern can be described in the following steps. The first, that they slowly increased their importance in the trade of raw jute and jute manufacturers. Then some of the Marwari traders became members of the formal jute trade organizations. Others became brokers to British Managing Agency House, or by buying shares got a place on the board of directors of British Managing Agency Houses. Then finally in the early 1920s, a few Marwaris entered the jute industries by setting up their own jute mills. The Billas started their first jute mill in 1990s, whereas Goenka and Bangur started there after World War II. So, apart from these communities, the bankers of Ahmedabad, without any British intervention or association, started setting up mills. So after these initial attempts, many trading families started to invest in industrial enterprise. This challenged the monopoly of British capitalists. The government started adopting discriminatory policies toward them. Tariff, taxation and transport policies were made favorable to the British capitalists. Thus, there was stiff competition in the marketing of goods as well. The Indian capitalists organized themselves into the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. The capitalists were aware that they would be better off in a free India and were active supporters of the nationalist struggles. The leadership of the national movement were also aware of the need for industrialization of the country. Thus, the modern industries developed in India due to colonization, but it was no way favorable for Indian people. The reason was greed and exploitative mindset of Britishers. So now we see the post-independence India. The colonial past very much played a part in the economic path India took. Especially under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, the new Prime Minister of India, the link between colonialism and underdevelopment was firmly established. The history made Indian leaders wary of international free trade. So Nehru, who was inspired by Indian socialism and by the Russian example, decided to adopt a socialist pattern of economic development. Much of early economic activity in newly independent India was state-induced and state-controlled. Nehru wanted to adopt Harold Lasky ideas of mixed economy, which he did. The state controlled major industries and public-related services. So, in setting a path for the economic policy after independence, Nehru followed a development discourse and models which were current and popular at that time. He truly believed that, like Russia, India needed to develop its heavy industry, which were capital intensive. Thus, in the initial phase of economic development, saw setting up heavy industries and the construction of dams. He chose from a set of options considerably more limited than those available today, and followed to a large degree the conventional wisdom among Indian academic economists of the time. So, in 1980, the first step towards liberalization was taken up by Indira Gandhi and followed by Rajiv Gandhi. This involved easing restrictions on the capacity expansion for incumbents, removed price controls, and reduced corporate taxes. Then, the economic liberalization of 1991, initiated by then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and his Finance Minister Manmohan Singh in response to a macroeconomic crisis, did away with the license Raj and investment industrial and import licensing and ended public sector monopoly in many sectors, thereby allowing automatic approval for foreign direct investment in many sectors. Since then, the overall direction of liberalization has remained the same irrespective of the ruling party at the center, although no party has yet tried to take on powerful lobbies like the trade unions and farmers, or contentious issues like labor reforms and cutting down agriculture subsidies. So this is how the evolution of modern industries in India started in the lap of British Empire, but strongly matured after independence in phase-wise pattern from Nehruvian era to the LPG era. LPG era did not only ended license Raj but also introduced Indian economy into phase of post-industrial era. So thank you guys for listening me and watching this video. Thank you.